Let me put it to you this way. We are proud of being black and of our black heritage, but white America does not accept the concept that this is a multiracial society. It has never accepted the fact that there are black people, brown people, yellow people here alongside them. They've always looked upon America as being white, and hence all of its propaganda is directed at us to convince us that somehow or the other we must become white before they will accept us. Even a publication like Ebony, with a subscription of something like 800,000 Negro subscribers, is written for what we call the low visibility Negro. You know, the light-skinned Negro. With a rare exception, Ebony never features the activities of the black man in this country. It's always that low visibility, you know, the almost white Negro. And how you too can be this way one day if you use some of the skin lighteners that they run in their advertisement. I mean, when it runs ads like Dr. Fred Palmer's skin whiteners, it is denial of the fact that black people exist. That somehow or the other, in order for us to exist, we must resort to using hair straighteners so our hair won't be kinky. That somehow if we could only hide our blackness, we can then become part of this thing called the American melting pot or the American scene.
The problem is the standard for discussion is set by the whites, and a lot of Negroes now don't want to accept that standard anymore. They say, we're going to have our own standard. I think that the hookup comes if you can develop a whole new standard where whites and Negroes can have a dialogue. Not either one of those are acceptable anymore. I mean, whites aren't going to accept Negro standards, and Negroes no longer want to be white. So that the clear thing is to develop a whole new standard, and then everybody move toward that so there can be some kind of dialogue.
You know, from a child up, I always, at first, I wanted to be white, you know, because my family was 20 of us, 6 girls and 14 boys. We would make 50 and 60 bales of cotton, gather all that cotton, and we wouldn't have food in the wintertime. So I figured then the white people must be right. But as I got older, I said, no, it's something wrong. And if I ever get a chance, I'm going to do something about it. I never will forget, Mr. Wilkins came to me one day from the NAACP that I found out at that national convention was the National Association for the Advancement of Certain People. But it didn't include us in Mississippi. And he came to me and told me, he said, you people are ignorant. You don't know anything about politics. You put your point over, why don't you pack up and go home? Well, at that time, I imagined that he was being pressured.
I think Martin Luther King is the logic of the Negro leader, and he's trying to get Negroes into the middle class, I mean the body politic, which ultimately is to get them into the mainstream of American life. Now, Malcolm said there was something wrong with the mainstream of American life, and there was something wrong with not getting in there. I mean, why get in the middle of a cesspool? That's my own attitude.
I'm thinking about in terms of a better and a greater world for all people. And we can't do that by me in one corner doing what I can do to hurt you and you in the other corner doing the same thing against me.
So you go ahead and vote, so what? So you vote for a senator. And the senator's constituency is either lobbyists who represent big business or lobbyists who represent himself. So what? So you can vote.
I am interested in developing a third political all-black party. Once we in the black community can establish our political party, then we can negotiate with our so-called white allies who have developed their own political party simultaneously along with us.
I'm not concerned about just representing black people because we have poor white that's in the same category with the poor Negro. Well, I want to see a change for the people. And if we can get a good white man, all right, we'll put him in office. But I don't want it all black and I don't want it all white.
Given the rapid advancement of the technology in the country today, every black child over 10 is already obsolete in terms of the needs and demands of the technology. So some kind of dole system would have to be set up where we would be supported for the rest of our lives while all of the efforts, concentration in terms of education, motivation be placed on the black children between the ages of 1 and 10 so that they will have the equipment to enter into the technology that's America. There's been a lot of talk and a lot of shuffling of papers, but in terms of the plight of the black man in this country, there's been no perceptible change. Primarily because the white man has no reason to. He enjoys the highest standard of living. His government enjoys dominance in world affairs. Why should he turn to me now and say, I want to share part of my good fortune with you? He has no reason to.
I think there's going to be violence, see, because there already has been. I mean, when people try to free themselves, they kill Negroes in the South all the time. The Negro man has been emasculated and destroyed by the fact that every time he stood up, he got just snuffed out right there. So I don't think there's any question but that there's going to be violence and brutality. But my attitude is that the brutality and the violence shouldn't become the reason that you want to be free. But that's a very personal thing, the freedom is. See, the question isn't what is freedom to me, it's what price freedom. Because sometimes the price that you pay for freedom is the very thing that makes you a slave again. That's what I think happened in Russia in 1917. But I know that there's going to be violence. I mean, I think it gets blurred, especially the individual. If I face you violently, see, who knows where that violence began? See, I mean, I might, if I face you with a gun and I got orders to kill you and you got orders to kill me, then we can't really deal with each other. Well, you're a target and I'm a target. So you can't really talk about that. But you can talk about the larger thing, the much more universal thing. The reason that you're there, see, is really not to kill, but to free.
Let us take a look at Harlem, 1964, when approximately 20 Molotov cocktails were exploded in Harlem. And in 1965 in August in Watts, Los Angeles, 2,000 Molotov cocktails were exploded. I think that we are developing more sophistication, and I think in the next uprising, and I suspect it will probably come either in Washington, D.C. or in another unnamed city, where you're going to find 5,000 Molotov cocktails used.
I've never thought in terms of violence, of all the things that have been gained by people fighting and going through blood for it. They don't have anything, you know. This, to me, it doesn't make sense. If I hate you because you hate me, I'm no better than you are. And all we want to do is to make these people understand that we are human beings and we can work together in this country. And to have a democracy, that's what we're going to have to do.